So, guys, unless you've been living underneath a rock this last week, you'll know that Divi released a massive new feature update, which comes jam packed with a bunch of features that will enhance the loading times of your Divi site. Now, you'll see that there's an article here on the Elegant Themes blog, and maybe you're on their mailing list. But the main element here of this update is that they're eliminating bloat from the Divi theme. And that's always been kind of the joke within the Boulder community that, Divi is great, but it comes with all these extra things that are unneeded. I mean, even so much so that, Divi actually used to load every single module on a page, whether you were using it or not. I mean, that's just crazy. And they're calling this new feature their dynamic PHP framework, which is only going to be loading the PHP code for the various modules that are needed on the page. They're also doing something called dynamic CSS, which is also super smart. It's minimizing the size of those CSS files by intelligently looking at all the CSS on your Divi website and seeing whether there might be elements of it that don't need to be replicated. So if we kind of go here to this post that we are including with this review, is this image here. Now, what you're seeing with this image is that Divi actually noticed that all these different thumbnails and image wraps and stuff like that, they're using the same code with 100%. So instead of replicating that code throughout the site, it is referencing each of those instances. It's a great update. It's going to speed up your sites a lot. And then it's just going to help simplify things. But these things don't always come through easily. Sometimes there's an issue that might come up. And this is where these new performance options come in. If we jump here into my Divi website that I have here, this is just a demo install, but we see here that I've got the update. And we're going to look at those performance enhancement options in a second here. Let's just get to the update screen. And here we can see I was running Divi 4.9.10. So let's go ahead and update the theme. Now, you might see some weird code here on my page. It's just because I'm running a local host on my machine using local by Flywheel. And definitely check out our site for some other tutorials on exactly how to use things like local to run a Divi local website. Looks like this went through without issues. So when we go to Divi now, we go to theme options, we're going to see this new option here called performance. So if we click on that tab, there's a bunch of new stuff in here. And, I'm not going to go into all of this stuff too deep. This article by the Elegant Themes team here really dives into every feature here. And there's a video included also. And they're actually doing a post series on how each of these features improves your Divi website. So definitely check out that. But let's just jump back over here and take a look at the dynamic model framework. But the one I wanted to highlight here, remember I mentioned that sometimes some issues come up. This is going to allow you to flick on or flick off various features that might be causing trouble in your Divi install. So definitely, the big one that we've noticed here is if we jump back to this post of ours, we had a situation where we noticed that some of our CSS here got broken. So this is the way that this for our Ajax filter plugin, what this was supposed to look like. It was supposed to have this nice box here and a nice select option drop down. But what it did is it stripped some of the CSS out and made this happen. So the way that we got around that was flicking off this dynamic CSS button to prevent that from getting messed up. So that was just a nice little tip that we came across so far. We're definitely still experimenting and seeing what the real power of this plugin or this update to the Divi theme is and how we can best utilize them to make sure that our sites run smoothly. So we're still developing the best practices. But in a second year, we're going to be taking a look at some that you can follow prior to updating so you don't break anything on your site. Now, these options are all here. They're easy to use. It really doesn't impact your workflow with Divi. You're just going to notice that it's faster. Now, if we take a look back down here, we go through the text steps for doing this on your Divi site. So the next thing I want to talk about is some of the safety features or some safety steps you can take to make sure that your Divi site does not break when you actually update it. And the first thing is pretty simple. It's actually just to wait before you update to the new Divi. A lot of times, we're working with code. The elegant themes developers are obviously very smart, but we're already on version 4.10.3 because some issues did come up. One of the big ones was some modules in some third-party plugins weren't rendering correctly with the visual builder, and people are having some issues with their sites and layouts breaking and stuff. So the Divi theme folks are definitely on it, trying to fix stuff. But sometimes it's best to wait for about a week or two before you go ahead and update. The second one, of course, is before you update your site with any type of major feature update, you want to back up your site. Now, depending on your hosting, that could be easy to do, maybe not. Usually, most hosts will do a daily backup, but if you want to do one manually, I use Cloudways, and we at Divi, use Cloudways. And if we go on any of our applications, now you'll see this dummy application I installed. That's just my name. You can just go over and browse to your backup and restore pane, and it'll load on up for us. Maybe it's thinking about it. Okay, so you get to this page, you'll see your latest updates and the restore, but then you can just click this backup now button. And what it'll do is it'll just immediately create a backup for you right then and there. Super simple to do. It's such an easy step. You can't afford not to do it before you do any type of big backups, or I'm sorry, big updates on your Divi site. Now, if we come back here, that is one of the steps that we want to address and make sure that we do. The next is, before you do that, you want to make sure that these updates are functioning as expected on your specific site. So if you've got a live site that gets a lot of traffic or something, and you want to make sure that this plugin update or theme update is not going to break your site, definitely create a staging site first. Or if your particular host does not have staging, we use Cloudways again. We love them because of the features you get. It's best to create a staging site or clone of your site. So maybe you want to clone it to localhost before you do an update. The only problem with that is the server environment could be slightly different. So it might behave differently than it will live. But if you have Cloudways, cloning a site is really super easy. All you do is you browse to your applications, you select the application you want. You just click here on the bottom, you say clone app, create staging. It's going to select the server you put it on, and then you just check this box that says create as staging and you click continue. Simple as that. And then, let's say you've done all of this now, you've created your staging site, you've updated Divi to the latest version, you've tested it thoroughly, and you're confident that everything is good. You can either then push this version of your site to the live site from your staging, or you can just simply go onto your live site, your production site, and perform the updates that you just did on your staging with the confidence that things will work fine. So that's pretty cool stuff. Now, the other big thing, once you have updated any type of major install, and it's just a really good practice to do anyway, is to purge your cache. Now, typically the most important one for this type of scenario is making sure that you're purging your server cache. Now, your server might utilize some caching software, it might not. Best is to either contact your support team for your hosting. If you don't know, that's just always the safest, and just ask them, hey, I'd like to purge the cache. I made a big update on my site. I want to make sure that it's live. Otherwise, you could also just, if you utilize Cloudways, I'm using that example again, it's super easy to do. All you have to do is go to your server, open it up, you go to your settings and packages. Actually, no, it's services. My bad, sorry. And then you just go to Varnish, which is the caching software they use on their servers, and you click Purge. And boom, there goes all my Varnish cache. So any type of potential issues that I might have run into will be all gone at that point. So that's that. Now, some other caching options you might want to look at of just clearing up is maybe you've got a caching plugin on your site. Now, we generally recommend that you disable caching plugins while you're building or working on a Divi site, but there is possibility that there's some cache there creating issues, and then also your browser cache. Now, we've got a great article, a few of them actually, but one that lists 7 things to try when the Divi builder is not loading. That covers the various caching options and purge of that cache that you can follow. Now, in very rare instances, you might need to purge your CDN cache and check with your CDN on how to do exactly that, or contact their support team. Now, if your Divi site is just completely not loading after the update, just also to throw that out there, we do have an article about fixing the white screen at death on a WordPress site, but that should be a rare occasion. And there's some solutions in there on how to fix that. You find that right there. But yeah, so moving on, the Divi speed update is fantastic, but it is not the end all or be all of speed for your Divi site. There are some additional things, and we kind of touched on a few of them a second ago, of improving the speed on your Divi site. Now, the first thing is using a caching plugin, but again, we don't always recommend that. But you can just disable a caching plugin while using a site. You might be able to squeeze out a little bit of extra speed on those Google page speed scores. Now, if as far as caching plugins go, we do recommend WP Fastest Cache as a good one to try, and we've used it on some of our projects here internally, and it seems to be pretty compatible with Divi if you're not going with a Divi specific solution. The second thing that you could look at is utilizing a content delivery network, or CDN. Now, what a CDN basically is, it is taking those files that live on your web server and placing them on various servers all over the world, and that can cut down on load time significantly. I know that I'm in South Africa at the moment, and sometimes when I'm accessing sites based in the US or something like that, I find that they're super slow sometimes, and that could be because they're not utilizing a CDN. A CDN would make those files available to me relatively close to where I am geographically. So, a great way to speed up your sites. Now, lastly, another fantastic way for Divi specifically is utilizing a plugin by us here at Divi Engine called Divi Nitro. It's one of our babies. It's one of the first plugins we made, and it is custom built for Divi and focused on making Divi faster. Now, there are let's start here. There are a lot of features. You can see them here for Divi Nitro. I'll actually take you to the product page here, and here you'll see a bunch of the features of it. One of the big ones is the asset deferral, which lets you defer Vimeo videos, YouTube embeds, JavaScript, and images. It could be a really big way to increase the speed of your site. And then the other one is code minification and combination. And what we actually did was that we built in a tool into our Divi Nitro plugin that helps you select which code to minify, which ones to exclude. Because with minification, big issues can occur with layouts and stuff like that, and things can break. And we don't want that. We want to make sure that our sites work perfectly. And our documentation covers exactly on how to do those things. It really speeds up your site a lot. It could make a really big difference in getting your page speed scores into the green zone that we all strive for when we're building websites. So you combine all these different features with the new Divi 4.10 update, and you could be on your way to creating some of the fastest sites you've ever built before with very little extra effort. Now, Divi Nitro is a super cheap plugin. I think it's only £12 for our one site license, and for lifetime and unlimited sites, I think it's only unlimited sites, it's only £50. So think about the impact this could have for your clients, what impact that could have in your SEO. It's a fantastic plugin that will help you capitalize on those page speed scores, making your sites super fast and SEO optimized. Now, if that was not clear yet, we love this new update by the Divi team. We are super excited to see how this evolves in the coming days, weeks, and months, and definitely excited to see some of the other features the team over at the Divi Elegant Themes camp will come out with. So, in conclusion, guys, definitely check out our article if you like a text version of this on our website at diviengine.com/resources, where you'll find a ton of different articles and tutorials and different things to help get you going to creating some awesome Divi websites. Now, if you run into any issues, definitely check out the two articles that I mentioned. They'll be linked in the description of the video also. And if you still get stuck and you think it's related to one of our plugins, definitely contact our support team and they'll be sure to help you out. And with that, guys, this is Roby with the team over at Divi Engine.